But just listening to your stuff that I've caught, some of the stuff on Twitter, I've heard Sergio's take on it. I've heard a lot of different takes on it. What is it that's going to hurt the driver? I want to know, because when I listen to everybody's and if you guys don't know, I'm going to let Steve explain it to you what's going on in Colorado. If you guys don't know, and this is major, like this is real shit. This is major.
So
right
there's a few reasons I don't personally like it, but you're going to hear the catch in here. So for those not aware, I won't get into these. I've got videos on them, but there's already two transparency bills that went into effect this year. January 1st for the DNC for deliveries and February 1st for the TNC for rideshare. What you see up front is what you get paid. If somebody tip baits on Uber, you still get the full amount you were shown. That is transparency, and it shows full pay. It doesn't have any kind of base, but it says full pay, and right next to it, tip. Okay. So those people who are like, oh, a $12 DoorDash order, great tip, I'm going to take it. I took one the other night, $12, $0 tip, 2 miles. I mean, this is how they monkey around with money. But anyway, that's transparency bill. Those are running. There's another bill on the House floor right now. I'm drawing a blank on her name, but she in 2023, one of the House
she's a
House representative members from Colorado was sexually assaulted in a Lyft. And so here's my thing, and I don't mean to be a jerk. I'm all for her being on board with this bill. She should not be the spearhead of it. I don't think that when that's happened to you, that's, I don't know. That's just my personal feeling, because if it needs to pass because it needs to pass, not because of sympathy, because we've done that too many times.
You don't want the sympathy on it. You're right. You don't want the emotional.
And I don't want to sound like a jerk, guys, but it's true. Because if like I have the sympathy for her, but if I put that into that vote, we're going to end up with crap.
Well, then he says has been saying it a lot recently. You don't, what's it called? Make your decisions not based off of your emotions, but your wallet.
I vote with my wallet. Yeah, I vote with my wallet, not with my heart. But go ahead, Steve.
So here's the thing. So they have to, and again, Sergio and I had to speak too, because Sergio said that, he's like, well, no, they're adding it into the bills I just talked about. They're adding it into the TNC transparency bill. They revised it. I said, no. They revised this bill. This bill is a standalone bill. It's called HB 25-1291. And what it is it's basically based around, hey, because of this person, we need to get these dash cams in every car needs a dash cam. It's, say my name, check for the child lock, all the crap that never works. When all we've ever needed is an RF reader around our neck that they can just go, boop, that's him, like London does. Costs about $1.
Right.
But anyway, this bill says that the rideshare companies have to provide so Uber has to provide a dash cam. Whenever your Uber app is running, that dash cam turns on. You can have your own dash cam. I do. But you have to have one of theirs. And when the app is on, it turns on. Here's the craziest part. The reason that they say that they'll leave is because of the cost and the fact that they're going to be put into many fake lawsuits, which they would, and some real ones, but a lot of fake ones. But the fact is, each one of these has to have a phone number associated to it, because it has to cloud upload every time you're on. They have to keep the footage for a year. If you guys aren't familiar, raw dash cam footage, because I have display ride monitoring service, there's a reason they charge for that. It's expensive to have a phone line, and any Uber driver that ever turns on, even if it's 1 hour a month, needs to have one of these.
Okay.
So everybody thinks, well, okay, it's just the cost and yeah, the liability. It's not. The big catch that people aren't talking about at all is that I already know what part of the if you're deactivated, because that was part of those other two bills, is that the other thing we asked for is that a human review. If you get deactivated, you can have a panel of 7 people human review you.
Okay.
So now, 2 of the people on that are big union push, but now they would obviously help you get back on. But we don't like that. I don't like that, because they've already got their foot in the door with some things.
It's a bias. There's a bias.
And so they're waiting for, they love this bill, not because it's going to help safety, even if it does, not because it's going to be, because Uber's going to have to do this. They love it because the minute Uber puts a dash cam in a car, all of a sudden, and this, sometimes I say you go, I say go check your own state independent contractor law, but luckily tonight I just get to say this is in every state. So go look for yourself. You must be free and clear of the hiring entity. And that goes on to say a lot of things in a lot of states, but what that means is the hiring entity can't put anything in your car. They're not actually allowed to even tell us which mapping apps to use. They're not allowed to tell us which routes to take. They're not allowed to do any of this. And they've got away with a lot, but they put that camera in, and immediately the union's going to go, any driver with a camera is an employee. Boom.
Ooh. That'll kill. So does that kill rideshare for a lot of people?
Well,
then?
That's why I was initially, now Sergio finally said to me, maybe you're right. Because I said to Torsten and Sergio, I said to both of them, they're threatening to pull out. And Sergio's like, it's the playbook. I'm like, dude, I wrote the playbook with you. Come on, man. Like, we wrote it together in person here in Denver. Like, right. We know the playbook. You guys know the playbook. Yes, it is the playbook. But here, that playbook doesn't apply. So Uber has said they will leave.
Okay, but
our House of Representatives goes on break May 8th. So either May 6th or May 7th, which is next week, this will get a read and a vote. The House already voted 59-7 in favor of it. And the Senate committee that heard it out before it hits the Senate floor, 11-0 in favor of it. So if that's any sign, it's going to pass.
So a couple things here.
Some people's clock will be ending soon, right?
I don't know how everybody. I know news knows it, and they don't just want to talk about it. But I don't know what I don't know why other people aren't talking about that labor part, though. I guess I really focus on a lot of labor stuff.
Well, yeah, no, because again, you don't let a crisis go to waste.
The union fangs are out. They're drooling at the mouth, just waiting for this thing.
Are you a right to work state, Steven, or Steve? You guys
are we? No,
you're frozen.
Yeah, you're frozen.
Oh, you know what? Let me catch this. I got him.
I think that was my Wi-Fi.
Are we right?
There you go.
Are you a right, Steve? Are you a right to work state? No. Okay, so you're a union state.
I mean, dude, you know what? When I first moved here, we were red. We kind of went to purple for a while. We're bluer. I thought you knew. We're bluer than you can be now.
Well, I mean, I know you guys have.
I mean, we got problems that
become more.
You got to be kidding me. That's an actual thing.
Yeah, you guys got real problems.
Yeah, we have real.
And I love Colorado, man. I love Colorado.
Yeah, me too. That's why I moved here. But this is weird.
I got problems.
So here's my question about the dash cams. Okay, there are people there are independent contractors that are truckers that they lease their vehicles through companies like Prime Inc. Right? Prime Inc. If you don't know, Prime Inc. will rent you a semi truck, will rent you trailers. If you're a driver, you get your CDL. You're an independent contractor. You're not an employee of them. And they also act as dispatcher for you. Okay. They pretty much, they're your Uber. Okay.
You're welcome, Lynn.
I think I see that more like Cobra insurance, but okay. I mean, because really, if your truck blows up, maybe you needed a couple, because you have to buy their insurance and yeah.
But what I'm saying is that they are now making, because of insurance requirements, making truck drivers put these dash cams in their trucks. Okay. And they have to have, they don't have a choice in it. Companies got to put the dash cams in these trucks to protect themselves. And there's a couple of people I follow that vlog. You know, you guys know me. I'm all about the vlog, right? And so I see, I'm thinking about that in that respects. That's number one.
Oh, see,
how is it unsafe? But how is it unsafe for the things that they want? Is what I'm trying to understand. I mean, if we're looking for safety, dash cam safety,
because
do you really think Uber would destroy the footage if it was a driver getting fucked up in the car versus, the rider getting messed up in the car?
No, but I think first of all, you're underestimating the data haul for a year of 30,000 drivers.
No.
And storing it and being able to access any, but
right.
the other,
I get that.
I mean, like, the other thing, yes, having a dash cam is great, but Uber storing it. I mean, this whole bill is meant to is kind of a witch hunt, man. I don't want to sound like Trump here, but it's a witch hunt, bro.
Well,
because they're trying to railroad them out of town, man. They literally are at a point of, and even, dude, if you know, I know you probably do, Vinny, but if other people don't, Jared Polis, I don't agree with him at all. My governor, he's absolutely one of the worst in the country. He's opposed to this bill. He's opposed to this bill.
Well,
he said, you guys,
but you know why
he said you can do a better job, work on this more. My point there being, he signs off on everything.
Yeah, well, he's also bought and paid for it, so I wouldn't be surprised if
I'm just right, but I'm saying, like, clearly, like, dude, if
he's going to get free Uber rides for a year, you know what I mean? I'm joking, but you know what I mean.
I mean, they can still pass it by without him. They don't need Polis.
So let me ask you this then, Steve. Being as connected into the system as you are, what would you change in this bill that would make it safe for riders and drivers? What would you change? Forget Uber, forget Lyft, right? Forget all that bullshit. What would you change?
Here's part of the bill that maybe you don't know too is that this also.
I don't. That's why I'm asking.
So they tie. You know how they tie in something that nobody wants to a good bill sometimes, and you got to vote
crisis
go away. I don't want this.
Yeah.
Okay, so this actually, if you heard about the case a couple of weeks back in California about the all the females who have been sexually assaulted being able to go to court at once, this is a huge win. A lot of people saw it like, well, that's just going to be these 5-cent payouts, and it's not going to do anything. So who cares? Like, that's just going to be no, because every woman gets to be heard. Finally, they've been able to block this. So now you can sue Uber independently in that state. Well, now here in Colorado, they tied that into this bill that you will be able to sue Uber and the driver for any claim you make. And while I think that is your right as a person, I think that Uber as a culture has developed, has trained people not to tip. I mean, couldn't even in the beginning. They've trained them not to tip.
Yeah.
They've allowed tip removal.
To ask you. Yeah.
I'm sorry. If you tip up front and you have a bad ride, just hope your next one isn't. That's what it is. It's bid on service. It's not a tip. It's different than working in a restaurant. Right. But they allowed you that. They have these fake safety features. They don't do anything. So it's I don't know. I think that the fact that they will be open to litigation, that's in there is part of their argument, is that they're like, listen, we wouldn't even be able to touch the amount of litigation. So that's why I told Sergio, I don't think this is their normal threat. Maybe Uber, I don't know. Nobody knows, but I have talked to lobbyists. I have talked to a House member, and I have talked to some other people, and I always do. And I've talked to some news outlets, and I yelled at a news outlet today that did know what I just told you guys about that everybody being an employee. And in fact, I'm just gonna say
that would be the one point that would bother me. That's the only thing. I'm not gonna lie to you, Steve. That's the only thing that would bother me.
I got a great connection at Channel 7 News, and I'm not going to say their name, but check this out because they're really good at helping me understand some things. I asked him about that, and he said, yeah, I know that. And I said, well, put it out, dude. And he's like, we have sponsorship from Uber. So and I've always known this. They all do. And that's why I said, like, you can give somebody the juiciest story ever at the Chicago Tribune, but they can take it to their editor, and their editor can go, moron, we work with these people. You can't run this story.
That's right. Well, that's
why people call it fake news. I don't call it fake news. I call it.
Yeah, but Steve, you remember when Minnesota was having that? Remember when Minnesota, the little local town board or whatever, at first they were like, yeah,
call the city council, but okay.
$28 an hour. That's right. Blah, 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 blah. And then 2 weeks later, half of them was like, no, I'm good. But listen, construction on my new swimming pool over here, we're going to start that. And they went against them. That's why it's, kind of why I made the wise ass remark about your governor. I know that fucker's on the
he
take.
Sucks. Dude, but our mayor's even worse. So
guy.
That's our whole state's a mess, dude. Don't even get
my thing at the end of the day, bro, is I don't want to see anybody lose access. Definitely don't want to see anybody lose access to work.
They passed this bill. Uber says they're leaving,
bro.
and I honestly, I have, and I even told Sergio as a joke. I said, I'm like, I understand they've cried wolf 1,000 times, but let's not forget California. They said they'd leave California. They did not do it. California folded 5 minutes before midnight. And said, never mind, we can't afford to have the disruption of rideshare being down. People won't get to work. Never mind. You can have your Prop 22 bill in November. And this was January 1st when AB 5 went in effect. And they said, you can operate.
But if somebody doesn't stand up to these corporations, then we wind up in the exact didn't mean to curse. The exact situation that we are now on a federal level, on a world stage level. See, at some point, you got to rip that Band-Aid off, right? At some point, you got to punch the bully in the mouth. You want to leave, take your ass on down the road. They did this shit in Austin. Remember when they dipped in Austin?
Yeah, no, right? I've talked about this many times.
Right. And Austin thought they were going to fall apart and blah, blah, blah. Somebody stepped right up, right? Asked to come back, paid to come back, slipped somebody a Mickey's to get them to come back. There's so many different ways you can look at it.
Paid to come back. You already alluded to it. And it's the same thing we talked about with autonomous. They're all shady. They're all
100%.
But this is an entire state now. And
I know. And
you move out 30,000 drivers, you are going to disrupt. And when I say that, guys, don't think, wow, that's all you have. We really only have Denver. I mean, Colorado Springs and Fort Collins or whatever, but Denver is like most of our people. That's it. Like,
it's most of your population.
Yeah, I mean, you take rideshare away from Denver, we're screwed because a lot of things that have come up downtown don't even have parking garages on 22-story buildings.
Right. See, I didn't know the employee aspect of that up there. That's the one thing that's new to me.
That's why I always appreciate your support, Vinny, because I do put the real out there. And other real, like, dude, huge media, the biggest newspaper in your whatever city all of you live in can't write the article I just told you about.
Because they're on the tape.
Their editor will say, dumbass, no.
Right. That's what, you see? But now you get into why people go to, I hate to say it, Steve. I always say it, Steve. What do I always say? It's no disrespect to nobody else. Nobody is more in touch with what's going on from an unbiased position than you are. That's why I always say that shit. Nobody is more in touch from an unbiased position.